Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're here with this tiny little Holland lot bunny because we're going to talk about an issue that affects babies, kits still in the nest box. We're going to talk about nestbox eye. All right, nestbox eye, that was a bird. But nestbox eye is actually an eye infection. So it has a cute little name, but it actually can be really, really serious. So you see how little his eyes are? Imagine if there's an eye infection in there. So nestbox eye is an infection of the eye in babies that is due to a dirty nest box. And when I say dirty nest box, I don't necessarily mean it's your fault. It might be. If you keep a nest box that's not clean, then you might be at fault. However, mama rabbits have a tendency to pee on their babies. I know that sounds gross, but they do it. And they don't mean to do it necessarily. Sometimes they do. But sometimes they're just peeing in there because it's soft. So they pee in there and it gets on the babies. And despite what people like to say, urine is not sterile. And getting your eyes peed on while they're starting to open can cause an infection. That's not the only cause. More common is the nest box just hasn't been cleaned. And that's one of the reasons we clean our nest boxes at 1 week and then at 2 weeks, just to make sure that they are clean. Yeah, you don't want to mess with the nest box too much. But if you don't mess with it at all, you can easily end up in a situation where your little babies are exposed to a lot of bacteria, and that bacteria gets into those eyes just when the eyes start opening. So the thing you want to do is watch as their eyes start to open. A baby around 10 to 14 days old should have his eyes at least starting to open. Okay? At least starting. They might take a few days to get there all the way, but they should be starting. So if you are not seeing the eyes start to open, you're going to want to take a closer look. So pick up your baby. Obviously, they'll be smaller than this, but using a smaller one is not fair because they can't see. But you pick up your baby and you examine the eyes, okay? You start looking. See if there's something crusty or something kind of gross, even if it's minimal. And if you see something a little bit crusty or something a little bit oozy, take a warm, damp washcloth, not dripping and not hot and not cold, and just hold it to the eye for a few minutes. Okay, just hold it on there and just see if the eye will start to slowly open after you do that. Now, if it does open and there's nestbox eye, expect to see some infection. Okay, if you hear cats having a fit, it's because they're stuck in a tree. They're not stuck, but they're annoyed because nobody will come up and get them. It's like, well, just jump down. They're literally like 6 feet off the ground. Doesn't matter. Not the point of this video. I'm just saying there's now 3 of them up there and they don't know what to do about it. Never mind. So I'm just saying, if you hear a little bit of, it's them. So they're a little annoyed. Anyway, back to nestbox eye. So if it's nestbox eye and there is infection in there, you probably will see some guck. It's pus, okay? You want to rinse the eye, use a distilled water, maybe even a saline solution. Don't use tap water because that can have microbes and then you're flushing microbes into the eyeball. Use distilled water. So clean the eye with distilled water or with saline. Now that you've done that, you're going to need an ointment to put on there. You're going to want to probably get this from your vet. We use a tetracycline eye ointment, but you need a specific eye ointment. It doesn't have to be tetracycline, but run it by a vet, see what will work best for a rabbit and what's available in your area. Not everyone has the same stuff available. So definitely take a look and see what you can get and talk to the vet, find out what's appropriate for a rabbit. Just because you can use it for a cat or a dog doesn't mean you can use it for a rabbit. Okay? You definitely need to be checking and making sure it's safe for your rabbit. Talk to a rabbit savvy vet. And you want to put that eye ointment, you want to get it so that it's actually going into the eye. So look at how their eyes are shaped. They kind of go in, right? You want to get that ointment. I know. But you want to get that ointment right into the eye. You don't want to put it just on the outside. You don't want to touch the eyeball, or like you don't want to push on the eyeball or anything, but it needs to start getting into the eye. So gently work it into there. Be very careful. You don't want to squish the little one's eyes. That's very dangerous. But you want to get that ointment in there, and you're going to want to apply it usually twice a day, but your vet may have different directions. In my experience, twice a day has cleaned it up pretty quick. So we've had Nestbox eye a time or two. It's always been due to mama peeing on the babies. Every once in a while, you have a mama who just thinks that's the thing to do. So, yeah, that happens. But it usually is due to an unclean nest box. So after you've treated the baby and you know that the baby's going to be okay, the cats are all coming now to see what's going on. They're all falling. They're all kind of falling out of the tree, which is entertaining. But, also odd. Doesn't matter. There's also ducks behind me. Anyway, so baby's cleaned up. Baby's eyes are treated. Okay, what next? Now you need to address the nest box. Nest box eye is always because the nest box is soiled. And that's either because you didn't clean it or because mama's been making a mess. So immediately you want to clean the nest box. Okay? Remove everything, sterilize it, or change nest boxes, whatever you normally do. Some people use cardboard and then they throw them out, and that's good. Some people use plastic or metal or wood. Clean it, sterilize it, make sure it doesn't harbor any further bacteria, and then you want to... Hi. There's Turkey walking past me. And, yes. Duck behind me. And then you want to refill the nest box with clean materials, so clean bedding, whatever bedding you use. We tend to use fleece blankets, but you might use paper bedding. I like paper bedding as well. Whatever bedding you normally use for them. Yes. Whatever bedding you normally use is what you're going to use. And you're going to make sure it's all fresh and clean. You're not going to retain any of the other stuff, because the other stuff probably has bacteria in it. That's how your little one got Nestbox eye. And then you're going to want to check all the other babies, see if they have the beginnings of it. So Nestbox eye is an eye infection. So if it's left untreated, your little one could end up blind. Your little one could end up with all kinds of problems. The infection could spread to the teeth. The infections could spread to the lungs. Remember, everything is tied together. So you want to clear up that infection before it spreads or before your bunny loses their vision. Okay, it's not necessarily your fault that your bunny got Nestbox eye. It is your fault if you don't treat it. So treat Nestbox eye quickly. Check all the other babies. Make sure nobody else is showing any signs of having an eye infection. An untreated eye infection is not pleasant for you or your bunny. So absolutely be on top of that. Check them again. 10 to 14 days old, the eye should show some sign of starting to open. Might not be fully open yet. That could take till day 16, depending on the breed. But you definitely need to be checking and making sure there's signs of opening, because that should be happening in that time frame. That's normal development. So check. You do not want to let something like that go unnoticed. It's fairly easy to treat, and treatment is very successful. And it's not exclusive to rabbits. It's more common in rabbits because they're in the nest and mama tends to pee on them. But we had a kitten with Nestbox eye a couple years ago. So that happens. It happens with little ones when their eyes are starting to open. They get something in. It could even be a piece of dust. And they get something in there and it doesn't flush out because their eyes are still mostly closed. So then they get an infection. You have to clear it up. You have to clean the area. You have to treat it. So make sure you're doing that. Just check to make sure there's no Nestbox eye. It may never happen to you, and that would be excellent. But it's something you should absolutely check for. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you've ever dealt with Nestbox eye and how it worked out for you. We'll see you tomorrow.